AITA for keeping the promise I made my kids at the expense of my stepdaughter. I, 43F, have two children. Sarah, 17F, and Aiden, 15M. 9 years ago, my late husband passed away in a fatal car crash. I was devastated. I was afraid for my kids to grow up without a father, and I was afraid to be alone. Luckily, my family stepped up. My brother-in-law acted as a surrogate father for my kids. My sister and Bil do not have kids of their own, but were happy to help us out. 5 years ago, I met my now husband 47M and his daughter, Elizabeth, 17F, at a friend's housewarming party. I was hesitant to date again, but I took things slow, making sure he was a good man to be around my kids. I discussed my kids' feelings with them along every important milestone and made sure they were comfortable with my husband and stepdaughter. When he proposed, and I spoke to my kids about how they felt, only one request, the promise, was made. I would make sure that my kids and I had time together, just the three of us still. I agreed to take my children out twice a month, just the three of us, with exceptions if need be. As my kids remember their father, and Elizabeth's mother was still in her life, we made a rule that neither of us would try to be parents to our stepkids. We are responsible for our bio kids. This was discussed with all the children together. Our kids are also allowed to choose how they feel about one another, whether or not they wished for a sibling relationship or something else. It's not up for my husband and I to decide. Back to present time, I still regularly take my kids out twice a month for an adventure with the three of us. This could be going out to dinner, a movie, the zoo, etc. I also take Elizabeth with me for some things, such as getting our nails done, shopping, volunteering. Sometimes my kids will come along as well. My husband and I are still responsible for our own kids. We parent them differently, but that's what is causing the problems. We are each in charge of grades, party planning, rewards, punishments, special parent-child time, chore lists, curfews/rules. The issue is, I am far more active in my kids' lives than my husband is. I regularly celebrate my children, go to all their events, keep on top of their grades. I know where my kids are, I listen to their concerns, and speak about their lives. My husband doesn't do those things for my stepdaughter. I think I underestimated how much this is creating tension between our kids. Elizabeth and Aiden don't interact with one another. Elizabeth and Sarah absolutely despise one another. Sarah and Aiden are best friends. My husband came to me yesterday and said we needed to talk about how Sarah and Aiden, mostly Sarah, treat Elizabeth. He pointed out several instances of exclusionary behavior, such as Sarah driving Aiden around but not Elizabeth. Sarah and Aiden deciding to have the two bedrooms across the house from Sarah. Originally, Aiden and Elizabeth would have had them. Sarah not inviting Elizabeth on her birthday trip to Cedar Point despite them having the same friend group. Sarah spending money buying Aiden gifts but not Elizabeth. Aiden refusing to allow Elizabeth to use his technology. Sarah and Aiden only doing things Elizabeth doesn't enjoy while at home or stopping when Elizabeth wants to join. Aiden refusing to cook for Elizabeth. Sarah buying all three of them locks for their bedroom doors, which my husband claims was only to make it look like Sarah did something nice for Elizabeth. My husband claimed that I was the cause of this problem by setting the example of excluding Elizabeth with the promise I made to my kids. He demands that I stop the practice and start to treat Elizabeth like my own kid. I said no, as that is not part of our agreement. Elizabeth isn't the one asking me. He isn't willing to step up and act as a father to my kids, and my children come first. I will always make them feel valued. I'm the only one who ever plans anything for the kids. Since we've bought a house together, he has only planned birthday parties for Elizabeth. Nothing else. He doesn't plan family trips, dinners, celebratory events, none of that. I know he won't put in any effort for my kids as he barely does for his own. When I've brought this up to him in the past, he said it's not my problem and reminds me of our agreement. Oh, and since I didn't add it in, I'm going to speak to both of my kids separately and then together to get to the bottom of their behavior. So, AITA for refusing to break the promise to my kids?